Welcome to this deep dive. I'm so glad we get to sit down together today and just, reflect on things.
Yeah, me too. It is always such a grounding time for us to just sit and process together.
It really is. And today we are going to be talking about something that honestly kind of hit me right in the chest from the pastor's message.
Oh, absolutely. I think we were all feeling that weight in the room.
Yeah, because, well, we all carry these invisible standards in our hearts, don't we?
We really do,
Yeah.
even when we don't realize it.
Exactly. We silently judge who is, quote unquote, safe. Like, we decide who we should keep at a comfortable distance and who we absolutely need to just push away entirely.
Right.
And we do this mostly because, let's be real, we are just terrified of getting hurt.
Yeah, that is so true. It is a deeply ingrained protective mechanism. We convince ourselves that we are, practicing discernment or that we're just building safe communities for ourselves.
Oh, this discernment. Yeah, that is the word we love to use.
Right. But if we are truly honest in this reflection, we are simply filtering. We are actively managing distance.
Wow, managing distance.
Yeah. We evaluate people completely before we ever decide to love them. We look at a fragment of someone's past, maybe a single visible mistake or a rumor or a really difficult season they had.
Right, just one little piece.
Exactly. And we use that one fragment to write the conclusion of their entire life. We draw this firm, permanent line.
We do. And, it is not just out there in the secular world. It happens right inside the church, too.
Oh, definitely.
We gravitate toward people with nice, clean stories. We want the neatly packaged testimonies, right? But the turning point in today's deep dive is that God completely, wonderfully shatters this standard.
He really does.
He doesn't just cross the defensive line we drew. He places a woman named Rahab, a woman with a highly complicated past, someone that, frankly, polite society would desperately want to erase. He puts her at the absolute center of his history.
What's fascinating here is that this isn't just a dusty historical event we are reading about in Joshua chapter 2.
Right.
It is an active, living challenge to our modern urge to evaluate people before we extend grace to them.
Yeah.
God just bypasses all the safe, clean, well-prepared people. He goes straight to the margins. He brings the marginalized right to the center of the narrative.
It's amazing.
And he forces us to ask why we are so obsessed with building walls when he is entirely focused on walking through them.
So true. And to really understand the weight of this, we have to look at where God actually found her.
Right.
Like, he reached into Jericho.
Right.
And if you look at the archaeology of Jericho, it was not just a town on a map.
Not at all.
We are talking about an impenetrable fortress, massive double-walled structures. People were literally building their living rooms right into the barricade.
Yeah, an engineering marvel for its time.
Exactly. Which makes me wonder, why would God reach into that specific, heavily guarded environment to choose someone like Rahab?
Well, that is the essential context we really have to grasp here, because as the pastor shared with us, Jericho was far more than just physical stones and mortar. It was a system. It was a comprehensive world defined by strict control, where idol worship, the local economy, and everyday life were completely intertwined.
Like a machine.
Exactly, machine. So Rahab's life as a prostitute wasn't just a matter of isolated personal moral failure.
Okay.
It was deeply, intrinsically connected to the Canaanite fertility religion and the economic engine of the city itself. She was trapped inside a structural web.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because this feels so incredibly relevant for you and me right now.
It really does.
Think about our modern hustle culture. It can be exhausting, right?
Absolutely exhausting.
We go to work, we earn money, we build our lives in this worldly system that thrives on constant comparison and relentless competition. Honestly, sometimes it feels like we are just trying to curate the perfect LinkedIn profile or social media presence just to prove we deserve to exist in this society.
Right, to prove our worth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because of our faith, we often feel this deep, persistent ache that we don't fully belong here.
Yeah.
We are in the machine, but we are standing on the boundary.
Wow.
It makes you step back and ask, are we truly choosing the direction of our lives? Or are we just reacting to the structural flow around us?
That is such a piercing realization. And it fundamentally changes how we view grace.
Yeah.
Because we are influenced by our environment far more than we care to admit. When we look at people with complicated pasts or messy present realities, our default human reaction is to ask, why did they choose to live like that?
Right. We judge the output.
Exactly. We judge the output. But God looks deeper. He asks, what environment were they trapped in?
Oh, I love that.
God doesn't judge superficially by the outward appearance or just the final results. He sees the whole exhaustive path a person has walked.
He sees the full picture.
He does. He seeks those who are longing to change direction but find themselves completely trapped by the heavy structures around them.
He sees the absolute exhaustion of trying to survive in that system. But wait, let me stop you right there and push back on this a little.
Okay, sure.
Because if the system of Jericho was that suffocating, and literally everyone in the city was deeply embedded in it, how does someone just snap out of a lifetime of conditioning?
That is the big question.
Right. Historically, everyone in Jericho heard the exact same news about the Red Sea drying up. They all had the same data. So what made Rahab the only one to break out of it?
That is the crucial pivot of the entire narrative. And it comes down to the mechanism of how she interacted with the news she heard.
Okay.
In Joshua chapter 2, Rahab tells the Israelite spies, "We have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea."
Right, they all heard it.
Exactly. But as the pastor shared with us, the original Hebrew word used there is shama.
Shama.
Yeah, shama. And it doesn't merely mean hearing a sound wave or mentally acknowledging a piece of data.
Okay.
It actually means hearing and accepting. It is a profound, life-altering internalization of the truth.
Oh, I see. Because the contrast in how the city reacted versus how she reacted is staggering.
It really is.
The system of Jericho heard the news, and they reacted by tightening their grip.
They locked down.
They barricaded the gates and closed themselves off in fear, doubling down on their illusion of control. But Rahab reacted by looking around at the heavy stones of her fortress and realizing her entire way of life could not continue.
Yeah.
She admitted her whole world was built on a flawed foundation.
You really did.
So what does this all mean? We often have this incredibly sterile, traditional view of faith. We treat it like it's just knowing more information.
Right, like an exam we have to pass.
Exactly. We think if we just read our Bibles enough or learn enough theology, we have faith. But I think faith is actually much more terrifying and much more beautiful than that.
Oh, completely.
It is like, imagine you're driving a car that you suddenly realize is heading straight off a cliff.
Okay.
Faith isn't just calmly acknowledging the cliff exists. Faith is letting go of the steering wheel. The steering wheel represents our illusion of control, our jobs, our curated reputations, our clean stories. Taking your hands off is the painful, necessary collapse of your old ego and bracing for the crash while trusting entirely in the airbag of God's grace.
This raises an important question. How do we actually receive the truth when it threatens our comfort?
Yeah, because it does threaten our comfort.
It does, because, as you pointed out with that car analogy, people don't experience transformation just by acquiring more data about the cliff.
Right.
They change by how they allow that data to dismantle their old destructive ways of driving.
Yes.
Rahab's confession wasn't just a minor tweak to her personal philosophy. It wasn't a polite adjustment. It was a total radical change of direction. She let go of the steering wheel.
She really did.
She abandoned her reliance on the physical, tangible walls of Jericho and placed her trust entirely in the invisible God of Israel.
And once her heart actually changes direction like that, the way God responds is so moving to me.
It really is beautiful.
Because he doesn't just applaud her from a distance.
Yeah.
He doesn't leave her hanging there in the terrifying vulnerability of her collapsed worldview.
Yeah, that would be terrifying.
He provides a highly tangible, visible way out. He gives her a specific instruction in verse 18. He says to tie a scarlet cord in the window.
And the original language here is incredibly rich and deeply intentional.
Oh, I love looking at the original language.
Yeah, so the Hebrew word for that scarlet cord is tikva.
Tikva.
Right, it translates literally to a cord or a rope, but its deeper, enduring meaning is hope.
Oh, wow. Hope.
It is a connecting line, an unbroken bond, and it carries this profound theological parallel to Exodus chapter 12.
Right, the Passover.
Exactly, where God commanded the Israelites to paint the blood of a lamb on their doorposts before leaving Egypt. That blood, just like the scarlet cord, marked the definitive boundary of life.
Yes. Inside that boundary, there is life.
Yeah.
Outside of it, destruction.
But the crucial part, the part that honestly brings me to tears, is that God is the one who defines that boundary.
He does. Salvation isn't about us hacking through the jungle with a machete, desperately trying to carve out a path to heaven with our own moral perfection.
No, not at all.
It is about entering into a path that God has already cleared and opened for us.
Absolutely.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think of grace like a sanctuary city.
Okay, I like that.
Rahab did not build that city. She didn't lay the foundation. She didn't construct the wall. She didn't hang the gates. And her act of hanging that scarlet cord wasn't the cause of her salvation.
Right.
The cord didn't magically hold the walls of Jericho up. It was simply her physical response to the grace that was already being extended to her. It was her way of saying, I am stepping inside the sanctuary you built.
That is the beautiful difference between an action being a condition for love versus it being a response to love.
A response to love, yeah.
Her action didn't earn her rescue. It embraced her rescue. And if we speak directly to you right now, sitting with this reflection, how often do we tell ourselves, if I just improve a little more, if I can just clean up this one messy area of my life, if I can just stop struggling with this one habit, then I'll be ready to come back to God.
Oh, we do that all the time.
We wait to return to church until we feel fixed. But as the pastor shared with us so movingly, God says the exact opposite. He says, come first, step inside the boundary, let the grace cover you, and then the change will follow.
It is so humbling to think about how backwards we get it. Let me ask you, just between us in this deep dive, is there a place in your life right now where grace has already been freely given? Where the door is standing wide open, yet you are still standing outside in the cold, trying to scrub yourself clean enough to be worthy to enter?
That is a heavy question.
It is. But you don't have to build the sanctuary. God is just waiting for you to step inside.
And the most wondrous part of stepping into that grace is that survival isn't the end of the story.
No, it is just the beginning.
God doesn't just pull you from the wreckage and leave you to figure out the rest. Rahab survives the fall of Jericho. Her life is spared as the massive walls crumble to dust around her.
Yeah.
But the narrative doesn't stop at the ruins of her old life. Those ruins become the bedrock of an entirely new, eternal legacy.
This is the part of the message that just absolutely wrecks me in the best way.
Me too.
If you fast forward hundreds of years and look at the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 5, you find Rahab right there in the genealogy of Jesus Christ.
It's incredible.
She is listed as the mother of Boaz. And if you know the story of Boaz from the book of Ruth, you know he was the man who showed incredible countercultural compassion and grace to Ruth.
Right, who was a vulnerable foreign woman, a total outsider herself.
Exactly, a total outsider. You have to wonder how much Boaz's deep capacity for mercy was directly shaped by his own mother's story of being a marginalized woman saved by grace.
It is a stunning generational echo. The grace she received literally rewrote the DNA of her family line.
Yeah, it did.
And it is vital to note how radical her inclusion in that genealogy truly is. In the ancient world, genealogies were often highly sanitized.
Oh, they definitely wanted clean histories.
Right. Historians, like Flavius Josephus, later tried to clean up Rahab's history by referring to her merely as an innkeeper.
Ah, an innkeeper.
Yes. They found her true past far too shameful to associate with the holy lineage of the Messiah. They wanted to draw a line.
Right, managing distance again.
Exactly. Yet God intentionally preserved her true identity. In Hebrews 11 and James 2, she is explicitly, permanently remembered as a prostitute.
Which naturally makes you wonder, and honestly, I struggle with this. Why?
Yeah, why keep that?
Why would God deliberately leave that shameful title attached to her name for all of eternity in the biblical record? If he forgave her, why not just let her be the innkeeper and save her the embarrassment?
Right.
Why leave the scars visible?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals the very nature of how God works with us. God doesn't demand that we first reach a problem-free state before he can use us. He doesn't erase our past as if it never happened.
Right, because that would mean erasing the grace.
Exactly, because erasing it would erase the magnitude of what he saved us from. Instead, he places a brand new identity right over it.
Oh, I love that. A new identity right over it.
He relocates us by his grace, and from that new location, he writes a completely new storyline. For Rahab, her name and her past weren't the end of her story. They were the raw materials for her beginning.
He didn't erase her past because her past became the supreme, undeniable evidence of his grace.
Yes, exactly.
That completely changes how we should view our own histories, doesn't it? As the pastor shared with us, we spend so much of our lives utterly exhausted, drawing lines to protect ourselves.
So exhausted.
We look at our own flaws, our own failures, and the messiness of the people sitting right next to us in the pews, and we say, this is acceptable, but that is too far. We try so desperately to manage the messiness of humanity. But God stepped right into Jericho, right into the very place that decent society wanted to erase, and he was He called Rahab's name.
He bypassed the clean, acceptable places and went straight to the boundary, straight to the wall.
Yeah.
He entered the darkest, most entangled part of the system to pull her out. So we have to ask you directly as we reflect on this, have you drawn a firm line against yourself?
That is the real question.
Are you secretly whispering in your heart, I'm only this much? Because of my past, because of my divorce, because of my addiction, this is my limit. God can only use me up to this line.
Wow.
Or perhaps on the flip side, are you currently pushing away someone in your life that God has already accepted and loved?
We draw these rigid boundaries, completely forgetting that God has already walked right across them.
You already crossed them.
And I want to leave you with a thought to really ponder as you go through your week.
Yeah, please do.
We spend so much energy hiding. But what if the very part of your past that you were desperately trying to hide, the part you were trying to manage, sanitize, or completely erase?
Right.
What if that is exactly the material God intends to use? Just as Rahab's complicated, painful past profoundly shaped her son Boaz to show unprecedented mercy to Ruth, what if your deepest scars are meant to be the exact credential God uses to teach someone else about the reality of grace?
It is a beautiful and terrifying thought. The things we view as our greatest disqualifications are often the exact tools God uses to minister to a broken world.
They really are.
He doesn't waste a single piece of our story once we step inside his boundary of grace. Your past is not a liability to God. It is a testimony waiting to happen.
He really doesn't waste a thing. The line God has already crossed to get to you, you must now cross boldly to step fully into his grace. Take a deep breath. Stop standing outside in the cold.
Step inside.
Thank you for joining us for this reflection today. Walk forward in that grace and let him rewrite your story.